This came in about a week ago. It's been sitting on my bench since then, just waiting for me to open it up. So without further ado, let's get to it. This came in an exceptionally large box from a shipper in England. I'll put a link in the description below. Company called iWoot. Stands for I want one of those. And boy did I. Like literally everybody got one before I did. And I've been waiting for this for a long time. So they did a great job shipping it. Took about a week to get here. There we go. Looks like a couple little circles here. They're taping it shut. I'm just going to go ahead. Usually I peel those off, but I'm just going to cut those. Now, a lot of other people have already done unboxings before me, so I'm not going to make a lot of pomp and circumstance of this. But here we go. All right, so nice little dust cover there. And there it is. Four USBs, HDMI, power in. Excellent, excellent. By the way, you can see the, before I cover it up, I did buy this as well, the C64 user manual. I encourage purchasing this. This is a heck of a resource. All the different features and how to do things with the C64. Available in the States as well, so. But yeah, this is definitely a C64 bread bin style case. This is the accessory box. I'm going to move this out of the way. The new joystick. Clicky joystick. And we'll open that up here in a minute as well. There is a quick guide in here. Well, let's look at the accessory box first. Now, this came from England, but the and so some folks have gotten some adapters. This apparently didn't come with any adapters at all. So I've just got the this just looks like the European plug. Output 5 volts, 1 amp, so that's fine. I've got a USB power supply we'll use instead. Not a big deal. HDMI cable, that'll come in handy. I will use that. And then of course the micro USB plug. I've got a million of these. In fact, there's one hooked up on my bench right now, so we'll use that instead. And then of course the quick guide. And of course they use the European styling for the cover and for the book itself. They also use the European styling for the large manual and the box. So yeah. Nothing like what we got in the States, but that's okay. It's still a C64. I'm just happy to have it. I am actually eager to sort of open this up and see what we got. So I'm going to do that first. Screws seem very similar to the actual C64. A little lighter weight, but similar in style. And it's probably a detail most people won't care about, but it's something that I notice. Well, this really does feel like taking a C64 apart. Yeah, there we go. So, USB cord for the keyboard. This is power light. I'm just going to unplug these real quick. And that is interesting. I unplugged them right from the... There we go. Unplugged this one directly from the socket itself, or from the pins. That wasn't supposed to happen. Lots and lots of room in here. Oh, unplugged the wrong one even. There we go. That separates the two halves. Set that off to the side for now. Just 4 screws here. This here is the power button. There we go. Looks like we've got room for another couple of USBs on this board. Not sure what this button is for. Not sure if that's a reset, but it is connected to a header here, so that you could actually wire a switch in that way. A couple of headers here. Looks like this might be an auxiliary power. CPU. Yeah, it looks like we could wire more USBs into here. We've got 4 of them already for this unit for what the purpose that this serves. I think that would be enough. It looks like even though the power here is... It's got 4 pins. It doesn't look like... It looks like it's only going to provide power. This one has traces that go to each of these pins, so this is actually a legitimate 4th USB. Don't know what else I can say about that, I should say. Just kind of put it back into place. Just take a look at this daughter board real quick. It's just a header for the other USBs, but we'll take a look at it. Yeah, pretty much what I thought. Yeah, USB hub. Looks like it's got another solder point for another USB. What are we up to? That's about 8 so far. So that's cool. Nothing else I like looking at the boards. Just to see what they look like. See what you're dealing with. Okay, let's turn our attention to the other side here. And I'm going to go ahead and pop this out. Now this looks very much like a Commodore keyboard tray. I don't believe the holes are going to line up. And I don't think it's going to fit inside of an old bread bin case either. Oh, there's one more screw over here. Right there. R with some, basically a silicone insulator on it. Looks like that's just a tensioner. And this is where all the weight is. for the unit. All the weight is in here. It's a good looking keyboard. Newer style. In fact, the one that I used, that I pulled the keys off for the Retro Bright, the keys are actually, the keys and the design are very similar to this underneath. So if we pull that arrow key off, you can see how they're, it's just painted plastic, which is, quite frankly, is just fine. The fact that we got a keyboard is excellent. And then there's little cups underneath. Let's see if I can get that up there and so you can see it. I'll show you what's underneath there without taking the keyboard apart. I saved all these little cups. The cups underneath are white. They're just little silicone cups that when you press the key down, it pushes the cup down and makes the contact. So that's what's underneath this keyboard. I can see it. I don't. You're gonna have a hard time seeing that on the camera. So if you were to take this apart, you'd have a bunch of little silicone cups that would fall out. So I'm not going to take that apart any further. And then of course the keys here. Let's grab one of these. Of course the keys are a taller style, and then they have a taller stem to them, but very similar in style to this old Dell keyboard that I pulled all the keys off of the Retro Bright. So very, it's a cost-effective solution. Very cost-effective, in fact. If we go back over to this side and just take a look at, you know, it's a ribbon cable coming out of the clear ribbon cable with the contacts coming out of the keyboard, so you're going to end up with well, you're not going to end up with a Gigastrand OS disc in it, but you end up with something like this. You got a couple of plastic layers and then the contacts. So that's going to be similar to what you're going to find underneath here if you take it apart. But I'm not going to take it apart any further than what I already have. Because this keyboard, the minute you took it apart, it basically all the suction cups fell out, and to try and put them back in, you'd have to flip it over, stick all the suction cups back in there, and just assemble it kind of like that. So, and of course you got the LED. The vents are open and functional. So just to compare, this is an old rusty keyboard, Commodore keyboard, that I have laying around, basically keeping around for the plungers. This was underwater, probably not functional. See how they're very close, but they don't line up exactly. It helps I put it in the right way around. So you see how, show you the bottom here first. Holes are very close on some of them. Show you the top here. Again, very close, but not exactly the same. So, it would take some modification in order to get this keyboard into a bread bin style case. But quite frankly, I'm not going to use it for that. So a couple of these middle ones in here to balance the board out. Now it'll support itself and the case won't fall down. So we'll need to get that bar in. For these smaller screws, you have to switch to a number 1. Number 2 is too big. Alright, let's go ahead and put this back together. Okay, so that might be something we'll have to be careful of. That didn't quite go in the right way. So let's pull that apart again. Try realigning it. There we go. That's better. That's more like it. Okay, let's go through with some of the more obligatory things. Comparing the size to a regular Commodore 64. And this has already been done. Even the some of the pre-release, there were some pre-release photos done by Retro Games that compared a regular Commodore 64 to the C64. You know, top to bottom, left to right, pretty much size for size, exactly the same. The main difference being that it is just a little bit taller this way than a regular C64. The feet are almost identical, so there's no difference on the feet, but you can see there's about half a centimeter difference in height here than there is on the C64, and it's all in the top piece. The midline actually lines up, so the bottom part is exactly the same height, well, within a millimeter or so, and that could actually be due to the feet just being very, very slightly taller. But then you've got quite a bit more, and that this top piece is actually bigger than a standard C64. So yeah, almost a centimeter there. Not a huge difference otherwise. Keyboard on camera looks very similar to the keyboard of the C64 or the Commodore 64. These keys are very slightly lighter than the Commodore 64. Pretty much the same font. My eye can't really tell a difference. Shift lock is just a standard momentary button, not the locking button like here. Because of course this is a USB keyboard instead. Overall, getting the look right, very, very good job. But I noticed, despite this being a little taller, because they're the same, you know, this way, just not the height, length, and width are the same. This makes a great dust cover for your actual C64. So don't throw this piece away. That's pretty useful.